Hello, welcome to Into Form. I'm Jimmy,
Paul.
and today we have a Matt. I want to say Quan, Matt Kahn. Me and Paul can't say Matt Kahn properly anymore.
Because we're trying to say Matt Kahn quote, but if you try to say that, it turns into Matt Quan coat. So
Matt Quan coat.
Matt Quan's coat.
Matt Kahn had a really magical coat, and I think that's really the root of what we want to talk about today.
Today's really a story about Matt Quan's coat and its spiritual significance.
There's a great fable to it. It's really it takes you on a journey. There's a bunch of morals, and it's really good. But we're actually not going to tell you that story today. We'll save that. We'll save that one for a rainy day. Today's a bright, sunny day, as you can see in Paul's world. And what we would like to talk about in this bright, sunny day is this magical, beautiful quote from Matt Kahn. Paul, why don't you share some about that quote for us?
Yeah. So I have it printed off here. I'm gonna read it, and it comes from Matt's talk called "The Karmic Return." And he just before I read it, I just want to say that what I appreciate about Matt in general is his focus on emotional healing and honoring our emotions and not invalidating our emotional experience, whatever we might be feeling. And I think it's so needed in the spiritual community. It's such an important point of focus that he brings in with so much heart-centeredness and so much compassion and so much love. So with that said, I'm gonna read it. So here we go. Emotions are not less than the divine. Emotions are not less than the divine. And there is no spiritual conversation that is more important than the one that begins and ends with how we feel. There is no story to get out of because your life is an epic saga that you crafted in the realms of transcendence, that you came to act out. And a being only hides in a story because they're dealing with the pain of neglect and the plight of unworthiness. And telling someone to get out of a story is just a very masculine way of shutting someone down, not helpful. When I see the way that the old spiritual paradigm has kind of conditioned us and tainted us and shut us down, it lights a fire in me like I can't even describe. Like when I talk to you and ask you how you're doing, and the first thing someone says to me is, okay, well, Matt, this might be a story. That lights a fire in me, and I just want to burn things to the ground. Because if you think you have a story, I want to hear it all day long. Because you know what? You've earned the right to have a story. You survived your pain. Now let the survivor tell the tale and spare me no expense. Leave out no detail. Repeat it as long and as often as you need to, because you deserve to heal. And you deserve to allow the one in you that is hurt to be seen, to be validated, because as it heals, you are liberating the planet. We need to talk about our pain because we are living in a world of people that are scared to talk about it.
It's juicy.
Yeah.
Thank you for reading that so powerfully, Paul. That was great.
Thanks. You know, it really, I picked this one, Jimmy, because it really resonates with me. And sometimes when I've listened to that segment more than a few times. And sometimes when I listen to it, it brings me to tears.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I was looking at why am I so emotionally impacted by that part of his talk? And I feel like it's because I've invalidated myself in the way that he's talking about. Like he says, we shut ourselves down, you know, and I have done that. I got into the spiritual path, like listening to Eckhart Tolle, you know, and other teachers of non-duality and Buddhism, and a big teaching in there, which he's kind of responding to is, we're not our stories, and don't identify with the stories, because you can create an emotion or get lost in it in a way that doesn't serve you, or create some kind of negativity. And there's a wisdom in that, but in a sense we take it too far, because um, when we kind of couple the emotion and the story together, and we say, oh, it's all just a story, um, we invalidate the emotion at the same time we're trying to unhook from the story. And I think in my journey for a long time, was doing this without realizing it, kind of coupling the story and the emotion together, and invalidating the emotions that I was feeling by saying, oh, it's just a story, I need to not tell myself that story, which comes from a place of good intention, but it also unfortunately has the effect of shutting us down.
Yeah, it's like in your earliest spiritual teachings, it was guiding you to disconnect from your experiences of life, and to choose something different, and just to be beyond whatever your quote unquote story was.
Yeah.
And I get that's why this Matt Kahn quote is so impactful for you. It really brings alive in your heart the truth of how important it is to embrace your story, to give love to your story, to see your story, and to allow your story to be the access to the emotions that want to be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I think like what I hear and what you share, and what I'm hearing and what Matt shares, is responding to the stories with love, and really the parts of us that are telling those stories, which from my point of view, we could call those aspects of the ego. So to me, Matt's approach is really about embracing the ego from the heart and with love. And that approach resonates so much with me. It's completely the opposite of what he calls the old spiritual paradigm of try to get rid of the ego, try to get rid of the mind, try to get rid of these parts of us. They're just obstacles. They're basically seen as obstacles to your divinity. And what he's inviting us into, I think, is, no, those are the parts of you that are meant to be embraced. Those parts of you are meant to be brought into your heart, and they're not actually obstacles, but when they're loved and they're included in your wholeness, then they become servants to you. They become part of like the ensemble performance that you are as a beautiful expression of spirit.
Yeah, taking the spiritual stance that my ego is whole and complete in its intelligent design, and it's just about the way I've been responding to my ego, witnessing and watching my ego, that is really what can tip the scales between being ran unconsciously by it, and allowing it to serve my highest good and my highest path, because that's what it was designed for. Why would we design a personality, an ego? Why would we design it, to just hurt us, and then we just need to crush it to like get beyond it? It's like, no, we designed this thing so we can experience it in its fullest light, its fullest beauty. I feel like something that's happened for me in like the past year is the awareness of how potently beautiful it is to experience thought at such a dense level, like to be here in such a dense planet and to experience thought. Like, what a gift that is.
Yeah, it's heavy. There's heavy energies here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it seems like it's a real gift that we can enjoy and play with if we give space for it to be beautiful, to be playful, to be full of love, to be full of lightheartedness. Yeah, and I feel like that's what Matt like represents to me. Like when I experience Matt, I experience him as such a lighthearted. Like when I love that you brought up Eckhart Tolle, because I think like Eckhart Tolle and Matt are both extraordinary spiritual teachers. And
Oh,
I
me
think,
too. I love
yeah,
Eckhart too. Yeah.
yeah, they're both phenomenal, and
Yeah.
they're two very different essences as well. You know, it's like I get,
Absolutely.
and Matt for me, in he brings forward such a humanness. Like when I listen to Eckhart Tolle, sometimes he just sounds like an alien. You know what I mean?
Yes, I do. I do know what you mean.
Yeah. And Matt comes across as so human. And I think that's
Yeah.
because he's just really embraced his humanness so
Yeah.
deeply, you know? And I feel like that's personally what I want for my spiritual path. I want to embrace my humanness so deeply that I'm really, because I'm here to experience the human experience.
Yeah.
I'm here to build a story. I'm here to have a story. You know,
Exactly.
that's why I'm here. And so, yeah, I love this teaching is about loving the story so deeply that
Mm.
we allow all of the emotions of the story to come through, whether it's like the sadness and pain of my past, or like the joy and excitement of my present, you know, whatever it
Mm-hmm.
is, you know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Because I feel like um, the wisdom in the old spiritual paradigm, the approach of um, step out of it and try to get rid of it, is there's a wisdom in stepping out of it. You know, because you can't do a lot if you're stuck inside of the story, the ego, the identification with the mind, you know. So I think like it's a good first step. Mindfulness is a good first step to step out of it, right? um, but then Matt's approach to me is like going another step beyond that. Like how would the spirit in you then interact with the ego, you know, from the most intelligent place?
Mm.
And like he says, there's nothing more intelligent than love. There's nothing more intelligent than love, you know. And so how's it going to interact with that? It's not going to try and get rid of it. That's not what the spirit would do. It's going to love it. It's going to embrace it with love. And yeah, like you said, that helps us integrate our humanness. So now we don't feel like aliens on the earth, but um, we feel more human because we're including that part of us and not trying to push it away. Because yeah, the ego is part of our humanness. So really, when we're pushing that away, we're pushing away, you know, our humanity.
Mm.
Yeah.
Mm. Yeah. I feel like that's a lot of what, like you said, it, because what we're talking about really is, yeah, like that old spiritual paradigm. And I think that's a lot
Yeah.
of what the old spiritual paradigm was trying to call forward spirit by pushing away human.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
that's why I love the saying, I'm a human, I'm a spiritual being having a human experience.
Yes. Yes.
It's so potent, you know, it's like so potent. Because like you said, that first stepping out, that awareness is important, because that awareness is us recognizing that we're spiritual beings, that we're more than just the human experience, that we're more than just the body, we're more than just the mind, the thoughts that come through our mind, that we are this spiritual presence, spiritual essence that exists and witnesses. And beyond that, I am a spiritual person experiencing the human experience. I'm a spiritual. I almost like being. I feel like spiritual being is almost like, what is a being? A being. I think of like energy form, but I like thinking of person. Like I'm a spiritual person. I'm a spiritual
Mm.
person. I have a spiritual. I have a spiritual personality. You know.
Right.
And then
Right.
that spiritual personality is having a human experience, which has its own personality, its own essence, as Jimmy. You know, and
Yeah.
it's that's so exciting. You know, that's so exciting. It's that I feel like we're part of the whole essence of what it is to, like, the whole essence to be God, and what God has clearly created in this universe is to be this magnificent, beautiful, loving intelligence that is experiencing itself as so many different persons, as so many different personalities. And each personality gets to show up as its own full and complete, unique, wholesome God. And
Mm-hmm.
that's what we're talking about here, is our humanness, is our ego.
Yeah.
Our
Yeah.
ego, our humanness is a fractal. It is a fractal personality of our spiritual person. of our spiritual person expressing itself as one of its essences. You know, whether it's your spiritual person is experiencing itself as Paul, my spiritual person is experiencing myself as Jimmy. And these are very like, we chose these personalities, we chose these egos so intelligently to be mirrors for our spiritual growth, to reflect to us like complete whole versions of parts of our whole complete being. And it's, yeah, I mean, that's beautiful. Like, it's extraordinary, it's magnificent, it's magical. And as soon as we shut that off, well, I feel like, well, maybe we're really missing the point of being here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that resonates with me. I do feel like the point of being here is embracing our humanity, embracing our unique life, because we have a like you said, you know, you're experiencing yourself as Jimmy, experiencing myself as Paul. That means I'm experiencing myself as a unique person. Pardon the train noises. Yeah, that's God saying, yes, this is the way it is. That we get to experience ourselves as a unique expression. And when we push our humanity away, we're also pushing our individuality away. So, you know, it's like at the level of spirit, we're all one. That's what namaste means. You know, we're all one. We're all the same essence. So at that level, there's no uniqueness and individuality, right? Again, pardon the train.
I love it. It's like this really eerie sound, actually. It's like coming through, like the audio is such a mysterious sound. Because we're talking about something mysterious.
It is, yeah, it is very mysterious, and I'm present to the beauty, the beauty right now too, which we've talked about before. But basically, what I'm trying to say is, like, what is life without individuality and uniqueness? You know, why, you know, like that is embracing that has to be part of why we're here, because why else would it be created like this? You know, why else would we have all these forms that each have, as you said, their unique essence? You know, it's personal to each of us. So yeah, so we can't throw away our humanity, because that's part of it too.
Yeah, I'm like being reminded of like the visual image of a Buddhist temple with everybody looking like they all have like the shaved head, they all have like the orange robe, right? Like the classic. I don't know if that's what every Buddhist temple actually looks like. I've never been to a Buddhist temple. Right. But like the media, like movie entertainment, like depicted, you know. But it's like such uniformity. Like everybody looks exactly the same. They're all like sitting in a big room in the same way, doing the same focused meditation. It's like, it's all the same. You know, it's so, but that's like, yeah, that's one beautiful experience of embracing our unity, embracing our sameness, embracing the fact that we're all one. But I don't think I personally don't find that to be the purpose of being here. I think, yeah, it's like we're already all connected in that uniformity, but like the fun, exciting thing is to create individuality. It's to create personality. It's to create distinctive persons, and to embody and embrace our distinctive person as much as possible. You know, that's why we say, like, don't try to be somebody else, right? Like, it's a typical thing that we teach in society, right? Like, don't try to be somebody else. Be yourself, you know?
Yeah. You gotta do you.
Yeah, you gotta do you, you know? And that's just, yeah, I feel like that message is more and more important of like showing up authentically, showing up as ourselves. And in the spiritual path, don't try to get rid of yourself. Like, don't try to be rid of your personality because you don't like it. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like I've not liked myself so much in my life, you know. I've not liked myself, and then I have to like, and I try to push myself away because I don't like me. Like, what?
Talk about inner conflict. Like, there's no bigger inner conflict than that.
Yeah, seriously. I was like, I chose me, dude. I chose my essence, you know. I chose to be a 4 on the Enneagram, and you know, show up however I'm showing up.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of this goes to me, the way I look at it, it kind of traces back like this thing we're talking about in the spiritual field of um, kind of being at war with ourselves versus not, and embracing everything we're talking about, you know, the ego, our individuality, our humanness. It's all part of one thing. um, to me, it traces back to kind of a misunderstanding, because there's a philosophy or a belief system underpinning that pushing away. You know, it's like you really believe that that's not a legitimate part of you. That's why you push it away, you know,
Mm-hmm.
because you believe the spiritual teaching, whatever it is, whatever version it comes in, there's no self, you know, which is an insight, but not the whole story, not to me at least, because you can also push away the soul, you know, and that's the crucial point. Like if you do that, then you're lost,
Yeah.
you know. So yeah, and I feel like that's what Matt's trying to convey as well. Part of his message, he conveys so many beautiful things, but that's one of the important points.
Yeah, I find that to be like a generally like a beginning step on the spiritual path too, is to realize oneness, to realize that we are not the the human body and all that.
Yeah,
and and yeah, it's about not getting lost in that, not getting swept away. Yeah, I feel like for a long time I was like, oh yeah, it's everything's one, and my role is to like come back to oneness, to like assimilate back with oneness. um and at one point my that shattered for me. I just had some like wisdom come into my life where I realized that's not, I didn't think that was the goal anymore. I had a point of going like, oh, maybe that's not the goal of spiritual life. It's
mm-hmm.
not to assimilate back to oneness, but actually to fully embody and embrace my person, my personality, my personal experience.
Mm.
And like and that, and to accept, like, it was hard for me, Paul. It was actually hard for me to accept that I may not assimilate back with oneness. Like that might not be my experience in my spiritual journey
Yeah.
of like, you know, I'm talking like millions, billions, eons of years of spiritual experience. Like I may never get to that point because it might not be the point. It might not be the point. The point might be to just experience my experience as like whatever person I'm showing up as.
Mm-hmm.
And that wasn't easy for me to accept. But I think what we're talking about here is like how because this, what's the difference between like the story and the person, right? Like the story is the person is the story. And how important it is to accept that, because that is our unique individuality, that is our beauty, it's what we bring to the table. It's like it's what we have to offer is our story.
Mm. Mm. Yeah. Yeah, well said, my friend. Yeah, I like to think of it like each of us is writing our story every day, you know, with the actions that we choose, with the things we say to ourselves, the things we say to other people, the feelings we choose to express. You know, um, it's like we're writing the pages of the novel that is our life. You know, each day, every moment, every step is this beautiful writing. Um, and so there's an invitation or an opportunity to write the best story you can write, you know, write the greatest novel of all time. It's called Your Life, you know.
That's beautiful. I really I want to do that, you know. I feel like that's what I want with my morning.
I want to do that too.
Yeah, that's like, I feel like it's too deep to get into in this video, but I want to bring up meta-incarnation. You know, I feel like that's
Mm.
um, simply, I'll share simply, meta-incarnation is this philosophical concept that Matt Kahn actually, I think, brought to both of us. I haven't heard it from any other source but Matt Kahn.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the idea is that like the typical reincarnation, where we incarnate into a different vessel, into a different body, Metaincarnation is the idea that we reincarnate back into this body time and time and time again, continuously adjusting slight nuances to create a different experience. And I feel like, yeah, Paul, I feel like that's what I'm ready for. That's what I'm personally ready for on my spiritual path. And it's kind of a freaky thing to accept for me. It's been, but I feel ready to like embrace and accept the desire to just like come back to this a million bajillion times.
Yeah.
Until it's just, until it's like the best tasting meal ever, you know? And I think I'm already like, like in my humility, I think I'm already a pretty good chef. You know, I think I'm making a pretty good life for myself. I'm generating a good story, like a beautiful story that has so much richness to come, you know, like so
you
much
are, man. You really are. Yeah.
Thank you. And you as well. You know, it's like, I feel like we're generating rich lives, and I'm ready to do it for millions of more years, you know, or millions and millions more of lifetimes, just to get it that much sweeter, you know?
Yeah. I can't help but think, when you say that, I can't help but think, because I studied philosophy in college, so I can't help but think of the German philosopher Nietzsche. And I think I mentioned this to you before, but maybe it's worth saying again, that he had this idea called eternal recurrence. And it was the idea that that things kind of repeat in infinite loops. So it's like, we're going to experience all this again, you know, infinitely. And it was kind of a thought experiment, but he made up that thought experiment to pose a question. And the question was, if you knew that it was all going to repeat again and again, infinitely for all time, could you say yes to it? Could you affirm life even from that point of view? This is going to repeat forever. Nothing's going to change about it. Can you say yes? Can you affirm all of life? Standing right there. And that's what I hear in what you're speaking to as well. Because maybe he kind of had an intuition of meta-incarnation, right? He's like, I'm going to back here. But when whether we're going to experience this again or not, that's still an important question to ask ourselves. Can I embrace all of my life? Can I say yes to it, you know, and throw myself wholeheartedly into it and live it with reckless abandon? You know, that's an important question we all need to ask.
Yeah, I think it is. I think it is. Because the question is really how much are we willing to accept our story? That's the question, right? It's like, if we're willing, like, are we willing? If we knew this was going to repeat over and over again, could we say yes to that? Could we say yes to life?
Can we say yes?
Are we willing to accept our story? Are we willing to accept everything that we've already generated and everything we're generating now and to come?
Exactly. Like, yeah.
And I think that's a life-changing question. I think as soon as we say yes or no to that, that's life-changing. It's really impactful.
Yeah, that's a good point too, because I'm not sure how we're doing on time, so you'll have to
really close. We'll wrap it
really
up
close.
Here.
Yeah, but I mean, there's a good nugget in what you just said, which I think is that there's a part of us that definitely wants to say no. You know, like, no, I don't. I don't want to experience everything that I experienced again. There was so much pain and suffering and shame, you know, all the essential elements of the human experience. You know, it's like, how could I say yes to that? But there's a deeper part in us, which I feel like he's trying to evoke, you know, which can and does say yes, you know, and it's kind of like asking us to drop into that deeper part, you know, and feel that and feel its yes to all of existence. There's a tremendous amount of power in that.
Yeah, it's like tapping into the part of us that chose this in the first place.
Yeah.
And the power that comes from, I love it. I love just the simple saying, choose what you have. Choose what you have. That's what it is. That's what we're saying yes to.
Yeah.
This is what I have. I'm going to choose it.
Yeah.
There's really not much else to do. you know, and it's, yeah, like you said, there's a part of me that wants to say no to it. There's a part of me that wants
Yep.
to resist it, there was a part of me growing up that didn't want to be here at all.
Right.
You know? And almost refused to.
Right.
And now it's like, oh, I gotta choose this because this is
Yeah.
what I have.
Yeah. Well said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts, Paul?
It's all happening, you know, in this moment. There's really just, and this kind of goes back to Eckhart Tolle, but all we have is right now, you know. So what there is to choose this right now. You know, we're having the conversation, and I choose this, you know. And if you're watching this, then you can choose the experience of watching this right now. I mean, this is what is.
This is what is. And on that note, we love you. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for experiencing in this experience with us.
Mm. Yeah, thank you.
For being a part of the same story. Namaste.
Namaste.